My guest today is an old friend who I used to go on their show. But today they are on my show. Emily Rooney, welcome back to normal.
Funny.
I liked it. It was a working title, but I think we're going to stick with it here. Thank you so much for coming on. A mutual acquaintance of ours gave me your contact information, and I wanted to have you on because I think you're an interesting guest. You've been in the media for a long time. I'm a conservative Republican, so my favorite thing to do is bash the media. And surprisingly, though, you have surprised me on multiple occasions with sort of bringing, call it centrist Democrat sensibilities to political conversations that I heard. Even a while back when you would do Boston Public Radio with Jim and Marjorie, I remember there was some insane story at the time, and you're like, well, hang on a second. And you'd push back against what the dominating narrative was. And I always found that interesting that you were willing to do that. So tell me, I guess just how you been? What's going on?
Well, that's interesting. I left GBH in the fall of 2021, and not by my choice, but that's something that's ancient history now. I'm still very active. I've been writing for Boston Contrarian. Yeah. I sit on a board of a really interesting company, and I'm very active athletically. I play a lot of tennis and paddleball, not pickleball, paddleball.
Pickleball is evil. I'm a tennis player too. I love it.
I play tennis and paddle. Those are my two sports.
Paddle's taking off.
And I'm still extremely involved in media issues. I devour newspapers every day, and I think about. My old show was Beat the Press, and I think about how many issues there are now that I could be chomping into if that was still around. I did do a podcast for a while, which was a lot of fun, and it was good. And it was this kooky company who I loved working with, but they were so creative. They just didn't know how to get anything done. They certainly couldn't fund anything, and They had a lot of interesting people working with them, and they did Patrick McEnroe's podcast. So they weren't fly by night, but they just couldn't really get it going. So that ended after about a year, but that was also a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, your Beat the Press, I always liked watching, if not to just get angry and be like, look at the takes. Some of the guests, Dan Kennedy was on my old podcast. I remember asking him one time, like, well, what about like liberal bias in the media? And he's like, oh yeah. I just kind of like paused for a second, and he goes like, it's just part and parcel. I mean, so, this is a political show, in case you didn't guess, that I do. But walk me through what it's like over at, I guess I can't say NPR because you weren't directly involved with NPR or that side of it, but I can say public broadcasting, yes. Right? So what's popped up now is Republicans may actually be, and I'm crossing my fingers, defund from tax dollars public broadcasting. And I think that's probably the main, expertise you might have. I mean, what goes on? Because I hear that two sides out of everybody's mouth over there. It's like, well, only a fraction of our dollars comes from the government. It's like, well, okay, then great. You can go on and exist without our funding.
That's true.
And so, why?
Places like WGBH radio and TV can exist without Corporation for Public Broadcasting funding, because that's true. About 2% of their funds come from that. And they do very effective, community fundraising. Oh, no, not as effective as they used to. But there are a lot of rural stations that are, Idaho and tons of little places that count on Corporation CPB, which no longer exists, for funding just to be on the air. And their fundraising is not nearly as effective because the communities are so small.
Right.
And a lot of them are conservative communities, and NPR does have a liberal bent, but they are also reliable just for basic information in some of these little communities. So
I heard that. I heard the pushback on that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they need the crop reports or something.
Yeah, stuff like that.
I hesitate because I think legacy media, as we'll call it, is a dinosaur. in a lot of respects. People, as each generation and each year passes, people are going to consume their news content more and more like this, over their phone, over their computer, their smart TV, on demand when they want it, not 24 hours of a broadcast signal. And I think, though, that, there things like that where it's like people who are defending it are talking about crop reports, where I could say, I wrote an article a while back, maybe a year and a half ago, for Commonwealth Beacon, where I said, okay, this is after the Yuri Berliner article came out.
He was the former NPR guy who...
Correct.
Who claimed, rightly,
yeah.
that NPR has a liberal bias.
Yes, he was correct in that. And I wrote this article. I was like, so we have GBH and BUR in Boston. So they're two public broadcasting radio, call it companies, organizations, that...
Foundations.
Yeah, duplicate a lot of their
they do.
Content, right? You hear literally the same program, different hours of the day on one and then the other. And I said, well, this is ridiculous. Just merge, it was like merge, purge, and diverge, right? So it was like merge, so you could make sense to just have one entity, one building, one broadcast system. Then, get rid of the overhead, save yourself some money, because you don't need that many producers, you don't need that much physical infrastructure, and then diverge from the ideological part of it. And, I think after I wrote that article, Commonwealth Beacon didn't publish anything else that I would send over there. So maybe, who knows? Maybe they got some pushback.
Well, let me address that, though, the merger of the two, because I've heard that argument as well. What WGBH, now GBH, used to have, that they have almost totally conceded, except for national broadcasting, is local television. Mm-hmm. They wiped out every single local broadcast program, starting with mine, except they did bring back Basic Black in some form or other. I haven't seen it. So that was something that made GBH unique and special, far beyond. And BUR has nothing like that. And yes, there is crossover on the news broadcasting. GBH turned over to news while I was there. So it used to be largely just classical music. There was some news, but there was no news. I was the news division. I was the only person in news, and I worked on the TV side. And then slowly but surely, they built a huge radio division. It was at the time, it was just considered basic free market competition. I agree now. It's too much. Neither one of them. They're layoffs on both sides. They're having a hard time maintaining audiences. Yeah. And, there probably is an argument to be made, but they're competitors. It would be like saying A&P and, Stop and Shop should merge. It's like, well, do we need so many different grocery chains? I don't know.
I guess if the audience is there for both, yes, but what for the radio part, excluding TV was unique because yes, BUR doesn't have a TV presence. Okay, but for audio, you have All Things Considered,
Morning
Edition. Those are national programs, but those also they duplicate right over there, and
daytime programming is what is unique to each station.
Okay.
So daytime, they each have their own programming. You get Jim and Marge with Boston Public Radio. You got Jared with a culture show. Then you got over at you got On Point over at BUR. So during the day, after I don't know exactly, but after 10 o'clock until about 6, it's pretty much local programming or until.
Look, Jim and Marjorie still pull an audience, right?
They do.
They do. I just what is flipped in my mind, which is kind of weird now. Mainstream media, including your public broadcasting, is now content for this. I know it's a dying medium in the sense there's a lot, baby boomers still listen to it, maybe some older Gen X's, and then the rest of the world is sort of gravitating toward this. And guys like me, people like me, we consume them in order to comment on how ridiculous it is.
Okay.
And I like it because it gives me something to talk about. But it sort of irks me that, I was watching, so Amy Carnevale is chair of the Republican Party. She went on with Steve Kerrigan, chair of the Democratic Party.
On where?
Here, Massachusetts, in Massachusetts.
No, but they went on where?
Oh, they went on, it was at the library.
Oh,
right?
so
it was at
Jim
the
and Marjorie.
They went on Jim and Marjorie's show. And it was 3-on-1, and kudos to Amy for holding up. But just
well, I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah, but they talked over her. They interrupted her. They cut her off. Couldn't get a point out, and I'm getting like angry at it, going. And it's just the thing. And then
that's true.
But if you call them out on it, call them out on that. They go, well, we have Amy Carnevale on. She's chair of the Republican Party. It's like, okay, I get it. I get how people might think that, but walk me through. I really want to know what the behind the scenes professionally, does anybody go, when the story breaks, for whatever story it is, story about Trump and story about, I don't know, any politically oriented story, there has to be a point when somebody says, and I think this is why I like having you on, because you kind of can sort of see that other side of it, where I'm suspecting behind your producers, your writers, your whomever, are they even, do they even have a clue that there's another side to possibly a news story or a political angle to it?
I mean, they do, but they shut it out. And I mean that sincerely. I was stunned when I walked in the door at GBH after having been in commercial television and radio my entire life. And also, even at places like ABC, there was a huge liberal footprint. It was largely that. And I pushed back on that, too. I mean, we used to do this thing called Your Money, Your Choice. And I finally said to Peter one day, you're saying things like, do we want to give another $10 million to feed hungry children, or should we build a new weapon? I said, that's not a choice. And by the way, the American people don't have that choice. So we ended up changing it to just your money and what kinds of things people's money was being spent on. And I can remember saying that when I was at ABC, Rush Limbaugh picked up on something that I said. Oh, I said there was a liberal bias. And it was like being embraced by a child abuser. The fact that, no, it was. At ABC, people were horrified that he picked up on something that I had said. But, I can even remember, like, back when, the whole Antifa movement started, there was this push inside GB. Let's just ignore them. We don't need to put, they said, no, we need to know what everybody is saying and for what reason. So I got to say, from the top on down, there was and still is a liberal bias. There are people inside the building who are not liberal. I worked with some of them, so I know that's true. But yes, there was, there's a reason for this.
How many, when you say not liberal, I'm just out of curiosity here.
Handful.
But meaning like centrist Democrat or conservative Republican?
Very few Republican.
Right. I would imagine. Yeah. I would imagine there's probably.
I mean, we didn't go around asking each other who voted for what, but
Well,
it was clear.
The people who say nothing. Yeah. Are the ones that voted Republican. Yeah. I would imagine they're probably in the single digits.
Yeah, I don't know. We as I said, we didn't quiz each other on that.
But how does that come about?
I mean, I've been in the media for a really long time, and it's like people who are in the journalism business are generally activists. They're progressive. They're cause fighters. I don't know how that ever got started.
Woodward and Bernstein, something like that. Yeah. They saw the movie.
Yeah, no. Well, even my father, who was in World War II, there was something about that drove him into the journalism world. About reporting and seeing the injustices of the world that you wanted the world to know about. I mean, he was in Germany the day after the liberation. I was in one of the camps. I mean, seeing that. By the way, I asked him about that. I said, well, how come you didn't report about it before? Because we honestly didn't know. We didn't know the extent of the horrors.
It was a different world.
Yeah.
It's a different world. I mean,
unlike now. And by the way, when you say legacy media is dead, I understand what you mean. But, we're going to get your information from the internet or from shows like this. Yeah, but there has to be an original source of information somewhere. Somebody is. I just was watching.
Yep.
I used to work with Martha Raddatz Bradley then. She's over in Ukraine reporting on what is going. She's just walking around there with President Zelensky, but she had to get there. She had to know what she was talking about. It's like that's something that we all need to appreciate. Somebody like her has the guts to go there and boots on the ground, find out what's going on. So you can't just pick up your stuff from the internet. I'm stunned by how much bogus stuff there is. I was watching the U.S. Open because I'm a tennis fan, and suddenly this thing on the internet pops up, and it's Novak Djokovic talking about why he's pulling out of the tournament because he can't beat Sinner and Alcaraz. And we're looking at it, and finally my nephew says, that looks like it's bogus. And of course it was. It was all AI generated. I don't know why people do that kind of stuff, but you have to somewhere have something that begins with fact-finding. And so that's where real journalism still exists.
Yes, but but there's problems with that. I mean, that's where I think the rubber meets the road in a lot of these respects. I mean, so we're recording this Wednesday, September 10th. It's my birthday.
My husband's was tomorrow. He's dead now, but it was September 11th.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. The original source. So there's a couple stories that are all over the news right now, right? So we have this North Carolina woman who was attacked on the subway in North Carolina, or public transit. Yeah, I think it was a subway. Stabbed by a 14-time repeat criminal.
Saw that. Yeah.
Out on jail, and it occurred August 22nd. Horrific crime. She was a Ukrainian refugee.
No, I know.
Yeah, and
it's gotten a lot of coverage
within the last 24 to 48 hours.
Well, I read about it last week.
I think but the major news outlets really didn't. I could probably bring it up.
I don't know.
You want me to? I'll take a look. This is the advantage of having this. Let's give it a shot.
Where do you think I saw it?
I don't know where you saw it, but let's say I bookmarked some stuff. Let's see. All right, we'll go to my X page and we'll go to my bookmarks. So I scrolled through some things. So I like to bookmark stuff. Let's see. We'll scroll through. We can get in. This is the kind of stuff I want. All right.
But why do you think they didn't cover it?
Because I'll say of the non-narrative it goes to. I think the race of the.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah, totally disagree on that.
No, I think that
this is the kind of story that. I mean,
so this
is all ABC does.
But this is September. This is September 8th, right? So this guy, I don't know who John Bonilla is, but I bookmarked it. 6:49, CNN reports the murder of Irina Zaruska. Predictably, the focus is on the Republicans pouncing. Let me pull up some audio here.
The political firestorm growing in North Carolina after horrific murder on a train. Over the weekend, the local Metro Authority released surveillance video showing the murder of Ukrainian refugee Irina.
They're not going to show the
police say she was riding on a train in Charlotte last month when the suspect, DeCarlos Brown Jr., pulled out a pocket knife and killed the 23-year-old. Brown is now facing first-degree murder charges. He's been committed to a hospital for a judge to do a mental evaluation for 60 days. CNN has also reached out to his defense attorney for comment. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy claimed the incident shows the ugly truth behind the criminal justice policies of the city's mayor. Elon Musk posted about the story several times and called to name and shame the judges who allowed the suspect to walk free.
All right. Well, that's not. They didn't.
Okay.
Let me just
say this. They did say that they didn't release the video until over the weekend. I think that's when I did see it because, local television and ABC in particular thrives on this kind of stuff. So until they saw the video, it's like, oh boy, now we got a story.
That's suspect. Okay, but here's where you talk about things like this. So it's Axios, grisly stabbing fuels MAGA's crime message, right? So when these inconvenient stories do pop up in the media, then there's the spin as the Republicans pounce. And it's an unavoidable thing where it's like, oh no, we're upset that horrific crimes are taking place in public transportation.
Which is the real story. I agree with you completely. I mean, that is an outrageous, Chiron.
But the death of 1,000 cuts, though.
Yeah.
Well,
Axios is also notoriously liberal.
Well,
no, they are.
So tell me this then. Name me what you would consider a mainstream. I can think of a couple, but mainstream media news outlet that is not. I'll even say
depends on whether you're talking about the news,
the news reporting,
the news. I'd say CNN.
Really,
the news reporting, not Anderson Cooper, not their hosts, but news reporting.
Okay,
like John King,
like Jake Tapper.
He's a host.
You don't think but he's not a news host? He's not like what Wolf Blitzer was? He's not a commentator. He's not Anderson Cooper. He's not having an opinion.
He does, though. He offers his opinion.
Jake
Tapper offers his opinion.
Yeah,
he does.
Well, we're blurring the line. I don't think that he's primarily considered a news guy, not a commentary guy. I think that's because, I mean, look, he came out with that book a few months ago where he's talking about, golly gee willikers, I am beflummoxed about how we didn't know President Biden.
And he got vilified by the liberal press and the conservative press for that, because it was
for two different reasons, though, Emily. Two different reasons.
That they didn't report it while it was happening.
Yes.
And
our president was...
And he's acting like he was surprised. Everybody agreed. He was vilified and nobody read the book. Nobody bought it. Nobody read it. It was junk.
But he's still on CNN. What are we doing? What are we doing? But this is what I'm talking about. Look,
Jesse Waters is still on Fox too. They're entertainers too. I mean, I think Jake is more of an entertainer than he is a news guy.
I would disagree with that. I think America would disagree with that. They would talk about a trusted news source. If CNN wants to be a trusted news source, and then they point to Jake Tapper.
I mostly listen to CNN on the radio, and and I get straight. I feel like I get pretty straight. Like yesterday, the incident in Qatar. I mean, it was really, and they were right on it, and they had somebody there within like 45 minutes.
Was that the Israelis operation?
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with that.
Yeah, taking out the Hamas in Qatar.
Okay.
And I was riveted. And they had, within like 20 minutes, they had somebody on site. It's pretty impressive.
Okay, that's pretty good. But can you tell me what? Just and you know enough
I'm
people.
I'm totally agreeing with you.
No, you
Jeff.
are. But we're September. We're 8 months into President Trump's second term. For 4 years, and I saw this when Biden was elected in 2020. For 4 years, we were told it was cheap fakes and deep fakes about Biden stumbling around, forgetting things. It's a stutter. All of this stuff. You tell me, just give me a morsel of sanity that friends in media were like, like off the air, behind the scenes, everybody knew, right? And there was just sort of emperor has no clothes kind of attitude in the offices of newsrooms and places like that.
Not in the beginning, but I think in the last 18 months that's true. But everybody knows President Trump drew that cartoon for Jeffrey Epstein too. Of course he did. It's like, so what? And by the way, so what? What's the big deal?
The big deal?
Yeah.
The big deal is one was running the country. One's a cartoon about this,
I know,
and one was running the country.
They're both in denial. I mean, he's running the country now.
There's gradations of denial.
Yeah, okay,
though.
I'm just saying. We all know
on.
He did the cartoon. He draws all the time. That's his signature. We got it.
I wouldn't doubt that. Look, here's where my smell test goes on, and again, involves the media. Are you going if Democrats want to hammer this Epstein thing? Look, first of all, I think all the Epstein information.
It's not just Democrat stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. But they want to bring this up now. Okay, but
it's never gone away.
Let's put a logical test to this. Trump, we're less than a year from the 2024 election. Okay, so 10 months away, 10 months previous. Excuse me. You have a situation where there's all this information that would, according to Democrats now, implicate Trump in some kind of Epstein conspiracy or crime or what have you. You're going to tell me that when Biden was in office and the Democrats were in control, any of that information wasn't going to come out during the campaign about that, and they're sitting on it until now. That just doesn't smell right to me. That wouldn't happen.
I don't think they thought of it. I don't think they were focused on it. Biden and I know you look stunned.
I'm flabbergasted.
I think they weren't focused on it.
Anything? Wouldn't they use anything to get him not get elected?
Just think
Biden's a walking corpse, and they had him.
Don't think it was on their radar.
Really?
No, I don't.
Really? Okay.
It might, had it been, it might have made a difference, but. And then don't forget, Kamala came in. She was running. It was like. It was desperation. I mean, obviously Biden got out for the right reasons. It was obvious to all of us. I mean, I talk about I was sitting on Cape Cod with a group of friends, one more liberal than the next. I have this category of liberals. Liberal.
Please give me your categories.
Liberal.
And I hope they watch this.
Liberal, uber liberal, and goober liberal. And I've got some friends that are goober liberal, and I was with them that night, and people were just stunned, falling off the couch, but at how bad Biden was. I was like any one of us could have been more articulate.
I look at that and I go, that's a failure of our media. Okay, the truth, right? The media should I want there to be some entity that where I can reliably count on them to get towards the truth, and even to bring it full circle. What's her name? Catherine Marr, who head of NPR, was like what we're doesn't want to get to the truth. I could find that clip if we want to play it, but that's where like your goober liberal friends are. They couldn't believe it. Why couldn't they believe it? Because I was like, I got my popcorn. Literally, I ate popcorn during the debate. I'm like, this is going to be great, because I knew how in bad a shape President Biden was during that, and of course he delivered. And like Trump, say what you will about him, but he's a funny guy. He's a funny guy, and he was just like, I don't even know what he just said. Yeah. He doesn't even know what he just said, and that was it. Done, done. But the liberal friends, it's just like the bubble that people surround themselves with, and it's easier to do now.
Much easier.
Where you can just, I only want to be fed
what I
want
niche.
to be.
Yeah, it's niche feeding of media. So rather than having a broader intake, and I'd like to think I do, I really look around at everything. People only go to what appeases them or pleases them, either way. Yeah. But, I ran into Mark White, who's Kevin White's son, on the way over to the debate that night.
Okay.
He lives near me on the Cape. He's, this is going to be great. He's like, I can't wait. And I go, I don't know, Mark. We were going back and forth. I said, I don't know. I said, I'm a little nervous. And then I saw him like 2 days later. I mean, he couldn't believe it. So I think there was a disconnect there. I think people didn't realize how bad it was. And you say that's the media's fault. I don't know.
It's 100% the media's fault.
I mean, we were reading him every day. We listened to him every day. We saw him every day. Why is that the media's fault? If you couldn't absorb that for yourself,
okay.
Why would the media be responsible for something that we all had the ability to perceive for ourselves?
Time out. It is.
You don't like my point.
Well, no. I love your point. I love your point because it gives me something to talk about. Okay, look. How many press conferences did he do in his
few?
Very few.
Trump too. Very few.
Trump's doing them all.
They're not
the time.
Press conferences.
Well, whatever. Trump is in front of the press every week. Okay, and I see these insane memes on Facebook, and they cross my social media path. Oh, the President Trump is slipping, or some batshit crazy post from Heather Cox Richardson about some wild nonsense. I see that and I go, oh my God, these people, they still lost their minds. Like, Trump's probably not that healthy. I think he ate McDonald's and Diet Cokes his whole life, but cognitively, he's still there.
That's true.
He's still there.
No
and they're trying to claim that he's not now, just the inverse of what it was with Biden.
But we can all perceive for ourselves. We know he's cognitively.
Correct. So still trying. I mean, right now in the current moment, they're trying to gaslight. But back then, you never saw Biden. When you did, there was always a mountain of excuses. The handlers, where even President Obama at that event where he had to guide him by there was video of him guiding by the elbow off the stage. We saw time after time after time where it was like, this is really not good. National security reasons, economic reasons, who's running the country, who's accountable, who's signing the bills, who's signing the executive orders, really the functions of the executive branch of the federal government. This was a real problem. And you were only getting it on media that was on the right side of it. It was just block and tackle, cover for the administration. And there was a turning point. And I think that turning point was the Obama administration, where it went from, I like an adversarial press. We see it locally. We see it locally with, and I can bring some stuff up in a second, but we'll talk about Obama. But somewhere along the lines, it went from Obama to challenging Democratic presidents to supporting them or supporting the Democratic administration. I'm not sure quite how it morphed. Maybe it was like the graduating class coming out of colleges and academia, what led to your point earlier, where they said they're more activist. And
well, there was a lot of enthusiasm for Obama because he was the first African American. There's no question about that. I think the media was a little bit giddy over that.
Yeah, but it transitioned from that to cover, and
I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I do.
Okay. So just
I think the media is naturally adversary. That's what they do. So I don't think they're like covering for him. And also, who's they? That has to be a massive conspiracy.
Not massive. The Democratic Party. They is the Democratic Party.
Not every journalist is a member, and most of them aren't members of the Democratic Party. They may vote that way, but they're not members.
Okay, but do they have to do that purely for appearance's sake?
What? No,
no.
I know a lot of reporters who never voted. Andy Hiller never voted in his life. John, there was a lot of people who just felt like they shouldn't vote because that was the ultimate expression of neutrality. I happen to disagree with that. I think it's a citizens.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever voted for a Republican?
Yes.
Which ones?
Do I have to say?
Yes. No, you don't have to
say.
How
about Elliot Richardson?
I don't even know who that is.
What?
Who's Elliot Richardson?
Oh, my God. You look that up.
I'll look it up right now. Who's Elliot Richardson?
What? Oh, my God. You're going to have to edit this part out.
You know what? You can embarrass me. Elliot Richardson. All right, let's go to this angle. Elliot Richardson, American lawyer, born 1920, died 99, was an American lawyer. This is the year after he died the year after I graduated from college. So what did he run for? American lawyer and Republican politician. This was the last guy that you voted for.
You asked me to name one.
One.
I didn't say I didn't vote for others.
I
did name
Charlie Baker. Maybe did you vote for Charlie Baker?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good. That's at least you got that. All right. So Governor Baker, if you're listening, Emily voted for you. Okay, Harvey. All right. Well, I have no idea who. What did he run for? What office did he hold?
He ran here for. What in Massachusetts? I can't remember.
President. He served under Nixon in office.
Did he run for Senate or governor?
Jeez.
He didn't get that far. I do remember.
All right,
that.
John Volpe. He served under John Volpe. Served under Eisenhower.
Just Google what did he run for in Massachusetts?
All right. Secretary. All right. I don't know. Wait.
Yeah, he was Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
All right, that name rings a bell. The Secretary of
Yeah.
Defense under Nixon. Okay, all right, cool. No, this is the advantage to. I'm not cutting this out. This is the advantage to podcasts. No, okay. So where I think it took a sideways turn, where the media, where it went from more adversarial to more covering. Definitely, we saw it. We saw it under Biden for sure, but I think it manifested under. Well, okay, it happened. It like took its roots under
There's
Obama.
a reason Trump got elected the first time.
Yeah,
and a lot of it was because of the media. Talk about
and
loved him.
What's your opinion on that?
Oh,
Just
my goodness.
ratings?
Ratings. I mean, he was a draw no matter what. I mean, he was on. He did call-ins every day on Fox. He was
Mika and Joe Scarborough
every day.
Yeah,
every day.
And they put him there.
Uber liberals, maybe even goober. Yeah, every day he was on. I can remember thinking that he was really amusing as a candidate. I interviewed him a few times when I worked for GBH. no one believed he would get that far. There were a few people, Ann Coulter and a couple other people predicted it, and very few people actually believed. But the media was largely responsible for that. They gave him 4 times the airtime of any other candidate running that year.
Correct. I mean, he had 100%
Nobody can even
name
remember
ID.
who he was running against. No, I'm kidding. Who?
I could bring up some Hillary clips that would serve the point. No, but he had 100% name ID, which I think is important. If you're running for office, name ID is key. And but during his first term, it's sort of the roots, in my opinion. You may disagree, but in my opinion, the roots of the media, flat out, not even hiding it anymore, from liberal bias to started in Obama, steroids, took off like a rocket ship under Trump, and then maintained this weird inversely effective relationship with the party for the Biden administration, where it was so abundantly clear. Your quote goober liberal friends were unbelievably stunned by the Biden performance, and that shouldn't be the case. But I really do want some new reliable news outlet that I can trust. Maybe the Wall Street Journal. That I would give that, where they could straight shooters as far as what they're willing to say.
Editorial side has definitely a conservative.
Yeah, I would get there. There's a few,
especially their financial news though is very, very straightforward, and I think their opinion is terrific. Also, I mean, I don't read it every day. I have to be, it's like, how many things can you subscribe to?
Yeah,
and also, like, everything I do want to read is behind a paywall, and
Well, I always thought I brought this up to Scott when he came on.
Scott Van Voorhis?
Yeah. So I was like, I've always thought, I want 24-hour access for $1.99 or something. Like, why do I have to subscribe? And I said, I likened it to when I was a kid, you'd walk by the newsstand and you'd pick up a newspaper for 50 cents or a buck or whatever it was. You'd buy it and you'd have that issue.
Right.
You'd have the issue. And you'd read through it, and you'd done
That's
it.
a good
And
point.
maybe 4 days later, you'd pick up another
even
one.
Scott's Substack, you have to subscribe.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I actually think that's a good point, that you should be able to buy that day. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah. I'm in business.
Yeah.
I have good.
Because I feel that way about a lot of the stuff. You know who I really like? I like Bari Weiss. I like
Barry Weiss is good. What do you think about that? She just got
and I
bought
like
out.
Matt Taibbi too. Did that deal go through? I don't think it did yet.
It was a $250
Well, that's
million
the rumor.
dollars for
Either 100.
the free press. It's not worth that, right?
No,
I
it's
don't
not
know
worth
what
that.
there's all kinds of conspiracies about why that's happening.
Yeah, because
but,
that Sherry Redstone's going to put her in charge of CBS News.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Bauer would be the first person to admit she's not qualified to run CBS News. I mean,
let me say this and look into the camera, Barry. If you're eminently qualified.
I love her.
No,
I
no,
think
no.
she's
I'm saying
great, but she's never run a news division.
Who gives a shit if she gets it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm
No,
cursing
true.
probably too much for the show. That's twice. I don't want to do that, but she will. We pointed to that. So I said Wall Street Journal. Absolutely, Barry Weiss. She will get to the truth as best as she can. I've listened to her podcast.
No, me too. I love her
quite
podcast.
a few times.
Me too.
She has good guests on. She sort
And
of
I
has
subscribe to her free press.
Yeah. So emerging, like the cream is rising to the top in new media. Now, does old media consume that to reestablish themselves as something to be taken seriously? I think so. CBS has been notorious on how bad they've been about being protective of the Democrats in the past election. What they edited out of the word salad responses for Kamala Harris.
They used every single word she spoke on different platforms. They folded on that $60 million lawsuit just so the Paramount deal would go through.
I'd agree with that. I don't disagree with that, but they still covered for her.
No, they didn't. Every single person in the media edits an interview in a certain way, not to make somebody look better. They used her other answers on other programs, Jeff. Maybe not on 60 Minutes, but on other shows. It was a long form interview.
CBS interview. Let me see if I can see any video. Okay, so let's do this. Clay Travis. All right. Now, so editing. I should search editing.
No, but don't.
Okay. No, you don't want me to do
Not these people.
No, I'm trying to get to the. No. Where is it?
Well, there's a transcript available.
Yeah.
Where you can read word for word what she said and what was used on what platform. And it was all there. It was all there.
It was all
End
there,
of
but
discussion.
in the sequence of what they. Okay.
They
All right.
folded
Now
for
let me.
one reason.
Let me.
They folded so that Sherry Redstone could make $10 billion.
Are you willing to listen to a
Not
Jesse
Jesse Waters.
Not Jesse Waters clip?
No.
All right, can't do it. Benny Johnson, he's probably the same.
No.
All right, more Jesse
They're
Waters.
biased.
All right, I'll go back from that.
People can look at this for themselves, and I think
let me just say this for the audience at home. I wholeheartedly they edited
Let
it
me
to
say
protect
this.
her.
No, they did not. CBS 60 Minutes doesn't care, and they are not going to protect anybody. That is true.
You think they don't care?
Oh, I think if she sounds like a word salad, yeah, let her sound like a word salad. They don't care.
At the risk of having a Trump second term, where they have the
60 Minutes doesn't
influence,
care.
where they have the influence to
60
impact
Minutes
it.
doesn't care. I know this.
I am.
I know. Well, that's your opinion. I know for a fact.
That's good. But look, look. This is the type of stuff where people at home they'll judge for themselves. I mean, if you think I can't even disagree more with that, because the idea that they would.
You think there's some cabal getting together and say, we got to make her sound better. She sounds like an idiot. No, absolutely not.
No,
if she sounds like an idiot, she sounds like an idiot.
No, Emily, this is why I like you, because you think that. You think that. They don't think that.
No.
They don't think that.
Yes, they do.
They're.
I know all of those people.
And I wouldn't call it a
and
cabal.
I know Whitaker and Leslie Stahl.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
It's not a cabal. It's not a conspiracy. It's just political corrupt. It's corruptive.
Absolutely not.
Oh,
no.
All right. We'll move on. Locally, though, I lived in Boston for many years. I'm in the suburbs now.
I can't remember what you ran for.
I ran for U.S. Congress.
Oh, okay.
Many
Against
years
who?
ago. Actually, now Senator Markey.
Oh, you ran against Markey?
Yeah, I didn't do well.
I did my best. I tried.
But I,
were you guys on together or not?
No.
Yeah.
No.
He probably didn't want to be on with you.
Oh, no. I came on. Actually, here's what I lost. And then I started doing, my media story. I lost that election, and then I started getting involved with the Young Republicans back when I was young. And then we needed Katie, who was chair of the Young Republicans at the time, didn't want to do media. So she's like, Jeff, will you do media? And I'm like, absolutely. So then I started doing some NECN hits and all that stuff for a while, and then came on your old show, but I had run for Congress, so it's like I had some credentials politically, and could do that way. I mean, look, I'm a lifer at this game. I love it. It's
me too.
Yeah, it's so much, but it's fun in the sense that you can, now that there's more access to people, right, directly through this platform,
Agreed.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's so much easier.
There's no more gatekeepers,
right,
which is great. And I think people really enjoy, I mean, the numbers bear it out. People really enjoy this as opposed, I mean, maybe not this show. I mean, there may be dozens of people that listen to this show, but people want long form. Yes, they want the clips of a good segment, but they also want to be able to dive deeply into, say, what we just did, right? You can't get that on a 8-minute panel on CNN. As much as Scott Jennings might have become a star because of it, you're still looking for that clip where he just has his facts lined up. Somebody says something dumb and he knocks it out of the park because he's really good at knowing his facts. But when it was a different world when I ran for Congress. New media was just getting started. Twitter, the iPhone was only really invented in 2010. I ran in 2012. That was a game changer. Twitter was just started to take off because the apps on that after, Obama, I think, no, actually, did Twitter take off in 2008?
I can't remember either.
Yeah, so he really leveraged that for his second term. I think we're on the cusp of something really good. I think, yes, there's a lot of crap out there, but the Barry Weisses of the world
I
filter
agree.
things to the top.
I don't lament the past about the media at all. I never have, and I've been consistent on that. You know, it's like there was only 3 news outlets when I was growing up, and it was ABC, NBC, and CBS, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and radio was all the same. It was also NBC, CBS. And I don't lament any of it. The only thing I lament is that, and we touched on it earlier, is that with so many sources available, that people seek the same thing day after day. They don't broaden their intake. They just go to the same stuff, and that's too bad in my opinion. Just listen to what other people are saying. That's all.
I do mostly that.
I'm sure
I
you
don't-
do.
It's weird though.
I'm. That's because you have to.
But I think people on the right do though. This is where there's sort of like a disconnect
I
with
don't
that.
know.
No, I mean look, the number one topic for new media on the right and even old media, you saw the clips of Jesse Waters, is to consume left-wing content, whether it's a tweet by Elizabeth Warren or Ayanna Pressley or a segment on MSNBC. It becomes fodder for our side. I don't know if the inverse is true, because I want to get to the truth of what some insane policy that Zoran Mamdani is pushing, right? Government grocery stores or whatever the case is. That explaining why he's wrong, it makes you feel good because you think you're right. And I mean, the government grocery stores, in that case, we are absolutely right that it's a bad idea. But you can explain that. I don't know that, and even Abby Phillips on CNN the other day was talking about that when she interviewed him, how it's been a failure, I think, all across, where it's been tried across the country. I don't know behind the scenes.
I didn't
the
know
producers,
it ever had been tried. Government grocery
Kansas,
store?
Kansas, yeah, there's one in Kansas. It's miserable. I think a couple. It's not a widespread policy, but I don't know that
In food deserts or in regular?
No, I think regular places. I mean, the idea behind the SNAP benefits are far more effective and make way more sense fiscally too if people are concerned about those with low income getting food. Mm-hmm. But the point for that is that I don't know that there's is there a liberal culture that goes, all right, I'm going to earnestly read the Wall Street Journal today or Ross Douthat in the New York Times because I want to sincerely understand what a non-liberal point of view is.
Yes. Same as on
I think
the
for
other
you
side.
it does. I think for you maybe.
I think I'm representative. I mean, I always read Russ. I read everybody. I have a hard time consuming large blocks of Fox News, but
So do I.
listen.
Oh, it's on at my in-laws. It's on at my in-laws, and I have to turn it.
You have to turn it off.
It's all the time.
It's so repetitive. Not that the others are not repetitive, because they are, but
well, there's no prime. I mean, Fox is an interesting. You look at like who was the evolution of their big hits, right? It was Bill O'Reilly, right? And he was the man forever. And so his scandal, where the harassment scandals, like took him out. Yeah. And then right after that, oh my God, and actually before around that time, you had Glenn Beck. And then Glenn Beck goes off and does his own thing. And it's still, I know one guy over there he's still doing it. But after O'Reilly, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson with his resurgence on Fox, and now Tucker Carlson's left there, and he's gone off the reservation. With it's just wild to see how that's evolved. But sort of maybe the Fox News was right, and now there's sort of a lull. I think I don't even know
off the reservation.
Yeah, I don't even know who's in the primetime slot.
Well, Laura Ingraham used to be normal. I don't know what happened to her. I mean, it's something traumatic. She's like.
She's always been though the kind of the secondary player, right?
Yeah.
The 10 o'clock spot.
I don't even know who's. I don't know who's in it.
I don't know who's at the 8 o'clock hour used to be like the
anymore.
hour, right?
We'd have to look.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
You know,
my husband used to say that I had a character flaw for liking Bill O'Reilly, but I did. I worked with Bill 3 times. I worked with him in Boston. I worked with him in New York at ABC, and I worked with him again at Fox. He was the first broadcaster. I remember when he was at ABC, he said, "You know what we need to do is opinion journalism. I'm telling you right now, that's the way of the future." And he was absolutely right. He was predictive. he was and he was actually more centrist than anybody on Fox right now. Bill was.
I'd agree with that. And lo and behold,
and smarter.
Here's the gentleman who was on at the 8 p.m. slot.
Oh, it's
his old producer.
Yeah, he was his producer.
Yeah.
And then he was the field guy.
Yeah.
Who was accosting people in the field. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jesse
I met Jesse once or twice down in D.C. I think it's CPAC. Yeah,
that show's unwatchable.
Not the brightest bulb.
Yeah. What do you think of Greg Gutfeld? Can you watch that? He's on later, I think.
Yeah, he does his late night show. I can watch it with a grain of salt. His guests are good. He has a good barometer for where sanity is, right? He can be very funny.
He can be.
But
he tries way too hard to be funny.
I would agree
just
with
do
that.
it. Just be. If it comes out that it's funny, it's funny. But it's like he's thinking. You can watch him sort of thinking ahead.
Yeah.
What's going to be the next funny thing I say.
Yeah,
So.
it's
not funny.
But it's tough when I'll cut him some slack because when you're on every day,
I know.
Every day you have to fill that void, right? That's where I think really a lot of this for opinion media comes into play. Your more successful ones are the ones who they will take the time to have like an interview like this, and then you release the interview, okay? Rather than every single day, 5 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you cover this. Like that's a lot of time to fill.
It is.
And that it doesn't work because it's like inflation, monetary inflation. The more you pump out to it, the less valuable
and some
it becomes.
guest cancels at the last minute. We used to have that happen
Yeah.
too. It's like, oh my God, I got another hour to fill.
No, but you can stage out people for maybe 2 episodes a week and it's still high quality, maybe even 3. Like the number 1 podcast in the country, Joe Rogan. For whatever you think of Joe Rogan, he does when he's in town in his studio, he has a few people on. He goes for a long time. He talks to them about what he wants to talk to them about, and then that's it. And then everybody consumes it on their own schedule. The idea that I have to be there, you can record it, but I got to be tuning in at 11 o'clock to see what Greg Gutfeld has to say, or even. I had on my other show, I had on Megan Johnson, who used to write for the Herald. She's great follow on X. She came on and what? Oh God, what the hell was I going to say? Oh, basically, I mean, to schedule it right, to fill that block of time. I don't know why I brought up Megan Johnson. I completely spaced on that, but it's way easier to just watch things on your own.
No, I agree.
Instead of tuning in at 5 p.m. So that's where I think you own a big cable network. You have 24 hours to fill, and it becomes very tough. But I think that there's an opportunity for new programs like this. You look what Fox Sports just did with Barstool. They're sort of piping in their programming onto their platform. So you're picking and choosing. You're going all over the place to find interesting content or things, but you don't need it every day. You don't have 24 hours to fill. And it's going to be an inherent handicap.
A few minutes ago, you brought up local media, and I was just wondering where you were going with that. Because
I'm going with that. I saw the headlines in the Globe. There was let me see if I can pull it up on my. I thought I bookmarked it. Let's see where I go. Oh, you know what? It was a response on my profile. Hang on. Let's pull this up. Okay, so this is where I don't get it. Okay, because I look at. Let me pull this up. Where's my replies? Oh, Megan. All right, so Megan and I were going back and forth on Twitter. She said she feels like she's the only one that still watches Bill Maher on that. But I don't even want, and I told her, I was like, I just catch the clips on Saturday morning.
Me too.
I catch the clips on Saturday morning. I don't tune in at 10
I can't stay up that late.
Yeah, well, whatever. But I mean, I don't, even if I'm up at that time, I'm watching the Red Sox or something.
Me too.
I'm not clicking over to watch Bill Maher real time. I watch the clips online. Yeah. So but I still watch them. I still do consume them. I think he's definitely an avowed liberal, but that makes sense.
He's a libertarian.
No, he's liberal. He's 100%. He's become very.
I've been on his show. He's not.
So let's see here. Where's my U.S. Open tweets? Where's come on? Where am I? It was the Globe. Oh, geez. Okay, right here. Let's do this.
What was the story?
The story is this, and I don't understand it. Boston Globe, September 6th. Boston residents demand action from city councilors on crime, drug use at Mass and Cass.
Yes.
And I replied, so this is such a schizophrenic organization the Globe is. Reporting the residents are demanding this while ignoring the gaslighting by Wu, Presley, and Healy that Boston/Mass is safe. Okay, because this is like Republicans' Pounce. They're reporting on the residents demanding action from the counselors. They're not reporting on the crime. And Wu is going on saying Boston's one of the safest cities. Boston's one of the safest cities. So is Healy. So is Presley. It's a very safe place. But then we have all these problems. Now, relatively speaking,
Totally agree.
Boston is
Same
a safe
thing
place.
with the bike lanes and that e-bike who killed the person in Copley Square. I can't remember what the Globe was focusing on, but no, it was about the fact that there are these willy-nilly hodgepodge bike lanes that don't protect anybody, not the bicyclists nor the pedestrians.
Correct.
And it's like, but they're talking about the excesses of e-bikes. Well, there's a reason, because the city has promoted all these bike. And by the way, I'm not anti-bike at all, but the bike lanes are not safe.
I'm very anti.
They are not safe.
No, they're not safe. But
some of them are downright stupid.
Yeah. Well,
including right here.
Yeah.
On Mass Ave.
Yeah.
I was just watching this bicyclist come down Mass Ave, which is right near the studio here. There is no bike lane. It's just it's a decal. And the guy was weaving in and out of parked cars and buses.
Yeah.
There's no bike lane.
No, but it is a seasonal hobby, in my opinion, not a legitimate form of transportation. I think I'm okay with actually bus lanes, right, for our city, for the city buses, and you can go because it makes sense.
But in some time, I did a piece for Scott's Boston Country, and at one point on St. James Street, it's a bike lane, and then halfway through the street, it turns into a bright red lane, and it says buses only. Oh, really? Well, where are the bikes going? Smashing into the back of the bus? And it's like the bike lane disappears.
Yeah. Well, nobody ever said. I sometimes I honestly question, and I mean this, and this is not some flippant remark, the intelligence of the mayor. And I mean this because I talked about this with Scott, and not to rehash it, but in case anybody didn't, I'll just reiterate the point for a second. The White Stadium deal, she could have been a hero and brought a men's soccer team and a women's soccer team and built a stadium where it's supposed to, someplace more appropriate, where it fits, where there's parking and public transportation nearby, and put people to work, a profit center. You can build a community around it. But it's like, she just goes, no, it's going in Dorchester near Franklin Park.
I drove out there and actually took a really good hard look at it because I wrote about that too. I think they have the space, and it's a neighborhood. I go to Jamaica Plain all the time, and that's where it is. But I've never been in that particular area. It's very, I'm joking, it's densely populated, really interesting, different types of homes, apartment buildings, beautiful Victorian homes. That area itself is huge. I mean, I don't know how many acres it is, but the actual stadium area, the same thing happened with Encore. Everybody, we're never going to the parking. I went by it today, but my GPS took me on a circuitous route. But it's like they've managed that. I think they'll be able to manage. But I agree with you on the parking. I think they will.
Yeah, there's no space for it. You'd have to pave over stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Pave over a park.
Right.
That was supposed to be used for residents.
But as for the financials, you're absolutely right. And also, why is the city paying for half when a professional and I agree too that nobody cares about a women's soccer team. I'm sorry.
No. Time out.
No,
Allow me to counter that. Actually, my daughter plays soccer.
Yeah.
She loves it. I would take her to a game. I think the economics of it make zero sense. I would take her to a game. Okay. But I'm not taking to her a game where I have to take the T, then walk a mile to the stadium. Or if I have to drive, there's off-site satellite parking 10 miles away, and I got to take which I take a shuttle bus to.
Right. Take an Uber.
I'm not doing that. Right. You could Uber there, but all of it very inconvenient, impractical, insanely impractical.
I agree with you.
But so I think there's a demand for it, but it has to make sense. And Wu could have been, I'm telling you, a hero on this, but like digging in your heels, and she wants to get this done the way she wants to get it done. And in the meantime,
why did she get 75% of the vote? in the primary.
I don't know why. Josh Kraft. I'll say this: Josh Kraft. If you want to come on this show, please. It'll be a friendly interview. But holy crap, he's not
a terrible candidate. I mean, he's
not good.
No,
he's not good. He
should have stuck to bike lanes. I think he would have gotten more lift out of that than even White Stadium, because bike lanes are universal. Everybody cares about them in the city. Not everybody cares about White Stadium. They care about the money. They don't care about the
care
stadium.
about the money. I mean, when you're putting over $100 million of taxpayer money into it, and for a for-profit enterprise that is a professional women's soccer team, that's crazy. Where Josh Kraft, and let me just say this: if you're a Democrat, a wannabe Democrat politician in Massachusetts, you should run on Republican talking points as a Democrat, and you kick everybody's ass.
Agree.
It is. I've said this. Like, if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson wanted to run for president and just ran on Republican talking points as a Democrat, I think, unfortunately for my party, a sane Democrat, common sense, fiscally moderate, socially whatever, would just able to articulate normal things like arresting people and putting them in jail when there's a lot of crime, and we shouldn't defund the police, and boys shouldn't play women's sports, like those types of things.
Where all the people who live in Jamaica Plain or live near Mass and Cass, they all must have voted for her. Like the majority of them did. Why?
I don't know. I think there's probably a cognitive dissonance in a lot of people's heads that's saying, if I vote for anybody other than the person who's telling me the other side is evil, then I therefore must be evil. It's just I don't know that
there's an element of wealth shaming too. Yeah. That because Josh Kraft is Bob Kraft's son.
Well, that's the other thing too. You can obviously feel like the rich kid is, and he's a rich kid. I mean, you can't deny that, but you got to almost own it and lean into it. You can't run from it.
Yeah, he's running from it,
and people smell that.
Yeah,
somebody who is more like him, but a Trump style,
exactly.
Not style, but
brag about your money.
Brag about it. Like, hey, look, Trump I came from means, and
I'm a billionaire.
But my dad taught me.
I know more about this.
Yeah, my dad taught me to give back to the community and make sure that we leave this world a better place. That's why I'm running. Be aggressive about it. Turn it all around. Be affirmative in what this is bad. We should throw people in jail. Like when you're a Democrat, the Democrat consultants will tell him they're afraid of the activist class, and he will react to the activist class rather than normal people. Oh, wow. Sorry. I have motion to see. This is why you have to contribute to my
the lights
show.
Are out.
No, the motion detector. I guess it goes off after it. Here, wave your arm, Emily. There you go. There you go.
All right.
It's I need lights. I need all kinds of stuff for this program. But no, it's an interesting test case for with Bob Kraft. I'm sorry, Josh Kraft.
No,
tons
of
money.
Disappointing. I mean, I think everybody likes a race, regardless of who you favor, and I feel like he sort of seeded the whole thing. And it's not that he didn't have some good talking points. He did on White Stadium, and he started out on the bike lanes, and then he just gave that up. I don't know.
It's running for office is a weird thing because you have to. It's like everybody says, well, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and then you go do it, and you feel like you're doing it, and then everybody shrugs their shoulders, and nobody does it. I mean, there are ways to do it. He's made more videos on social media, which
I've seen a few of those.
Probably should have been doing.
Hers
the whole
are
time.
More effective. I did a whole thing on that. I really looked deep into it, and I looked at her TikTok versus his. I mean, he went into, I think it was some Charlestown, something like that, where there were all these wires hanging and it was a dangerous situation, but he didn't offer a solution. He just sort of was there. And she, meanwhile, goes into Chinatown and is talking about how all these restaurants that only had beer and wine, now we're going to be able to have full liquor, and how much it's going to help them and help the economy and help the neighborhood. And it's like, it was effective.
Yeah.
It was, she was talking about legislation that was going forward that was going to pick up the economy. I looked at 4 or 5 of hers. They were just they were brief, they were well cut, they were, well done.
Well, one thing where I think he get a lot more support where he's not is the city ordinances that are saying you have to build your buildings this certain way, right? And it's making it more expensive. So now you see no cranes downtown Boston building stuff, or very few. There's not a lot of construction going on. And that's like, you have to call out the crazy like climate policy. So banning gas stoves, making sure that all these emission standards are up, but it's having a real effect. Or she says 20% of new units have to be affordable for new construction. It's like, that's too high. That's too high. It should be
And what is affordable?
Well, exactly. But then you
did that gas stove thing go through?
Yeah, I think they haven't.
That is crazy.
I mean, but it's for the city. So you have this insular population. This is why the state of Massachusetts many years ago put a lot of restrictions on what Boston could do, as far like things like rent control. Like the state took that over as a weapon that a bad mayor couldn't roll back out. It's very smart. I think probably Boston's too important to the Massachusetts economy for that kind of thing to continue. And there should be mechanisms that are put into place where somebody who says, okay, well, you can install gas stoves, they have to be electric. You have to have a certain percentage of units be affordable. That has halted so much construction and driven up the price of current residential units, keeping the price high. I think Josh Kraft, if he makes that argument, thinks he's going to get called out as an evil capitalist, which is just ignore those idiots, because the people who build those units live in the city. The people who are going to buy those units live in the city. The people who would be moving out of old units to buy the new units live in the city, and they can make things more affordable. And that kind of stuff is just. And
the other thing he could take off on is this idea of the single occupancy units. All these empty office buildings and stuff like that that could easily be converted.
Well, I've looked into that. It's not easy. I mean, if you remove here's where you should remove as much red tape and as much regulation to convert those as possible. It is actually expensive and difficult to convert something that was deemed office to residential, because you have to.
I know, but could you?
But it can be done. It can be done.
Yeah, could you have community bathrooms if they were, let's say these? No, I'm serious. Like a dorm.
I am too.
Yeah,
I think that's a bad idea. I mean,
it's a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, I think people don't want to rent or pay a lot of money or buy a unit with the.
They wouldn't.
Right.
They would pay very little.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, that's something. Horse of a different color.
Well, and get the homeless off the street. Fix up mass and cast.
Well,
people need a place to go.
Let me ask you a question. So maybe we'll wrap up with this, because the state of the city right now. I lived in the city, but before I got married. I was in my 20s, living in the city. Love Boston. It's my city. It's the best city in the world. Why? But the homeless were not all over the place when Menino was in office, when Walsh was in office. It's like the basics of being mayor were happening. Streets were safer. The potholes got filled. Schools. Well, I didn't have kids in the school at the time, so I can't really judge that. But certainly, probably better than where we're at now. How does this mindset seep into? I know where this mindset seeps into public officials, but how does somebody who in the media just not notice it or not care, not write about as much as they should? They should be on it every day.
I just interviewed Alex, who ran for.
I heard about him.
He was onto something. I mean, he didn't make the ballot. Young kid, grew up in an abusive household, left when he was 15, has been out on his own, got educated, went to New York University. He started focusing on trash in the city of Boston. I was already I live right downtown. The city is filthy. Mm-hmm. It's the reason we have rats. It's the reason, it's if you scroll through 311, the website, 311. Yeah, there's a lot of complaints about parking. 90% of the complaints are about trash. People putting their trash out too early, dumping on the streets. I took photographs of dumping right outside of 7-Eleven on Dartmouth Street. And I got the address of who had dumped it and actually called it in. I knew who dumped it. And their name was on it. I actually called one of them. I didn't accuse them. I just said, just follow, It's like, how did your garbage end up here?
Yeah.
But there's all that, the ground out cigarettes. And then the homeless people are sitting in front of the 7-Elevens and the CVS opening the door for you.
Oh, they want a tip.
If the city gave each of them a broom and a garbage bucket, I'm not kidding, and said, just decide I'm working for the city, and then I would pay them.
Okay, let me just say the make work programs for the homeless
doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bit of a
pipe
dream for
because
you. Because they're homeless for a reason, and I either they're
very able-bodied,
of course, and their able bodies become less able as they're either drug users or they have mental problems, or mental problems caused by drug use. So that look, when you're homeless, you have to really. There's a lot of things that have to go wrong in your life, and you have to make those choices. There are
they're
choices.
Making choices every day to get themselves to a place where they know people have money. And they'll give them something for opening the door.
Yeah.
But they would also give them, doesn't everybody notice how filthy?
It is. This is my problem. My ultimate problem with liberalism, progressivism is it is a lazy ideology. It is the ideology of blame rather than taking responsibility for it. You see it in our public officials. I see Maura Healey every day talking about Trump. And I remember having on somebody, I forget what, I guess a few shows ago. It's like, I never heard Charlie Baker talk about Biden or Trump or the last 2 years of Obama. He didn't blame, and he just ran the show.
No, but there wasn't a president threatening to take over the law enforcement of your city either, which makes it a little bit different.
Well, here's the thing: if they cooperate, if the law enforcement directed at the behest of the mayor, at the behest of the governor, cooperated with getting dangerous people off the streets, you wouldn't have this problem.
But you said why is she talking about him? That's why.
No. Healey blames Trump for literally everything, and it's sad because you just, the lack of accountability is astounding. They use it as a stunt and to drum up fever for their base, and I get it, but it's like you look at that as an objective observer, and somebody's calling you. It's all right. It's okay. We're good. We'll wrap up in a minute. You look at it as an objective observer, and you say, well, okay, they just don't know what they're doing, and it's true. This is why our city's filthy. This is why Boston's filthy. It's because they don't know what they're doing. They won't say, go. Who's supposed to pick up the trash? The sanitation department. Get on that, or you're fired. Clean up the streets, get it off, fill the potholes. Police, okay, you're not gonna form a committee, you're not gonna study it. Get the people off of Mass and Cass, get them help. What are you paid for, social worker? What do you move them out, like literally.
What would you do with them?
Well, one, you get them help. They weren't there before. You know what? First question, I would be like, one.
Well, they did do that thing where they went in and they assessed every single person. Remember, that was like 2 years ago.
Okay, but every single day, you would send the police, not with batons or anything. You take down their encampments. You say you can't move along, spread them out. That's what I would do. I'd spread them out. Go help. There's a soup kitchen over here for lunch on Mondays. There's beds over here on Tuesdays. Go sign up there. Pine Street Inn. Go to that. Push. Where they're not congregating, where the drug dealers aren't allowed to sell them dope. You know who they are. Arrest them. When they get arrested, you follow through with it. Okay, and eventually it will start to clean up. And at least at a bare minimum, the residents who live around there or all over the city don't feel like they're living in a dump. And it's like, okay, Boston's a great city. It's expensive. But it's like at some point you got to go, well, you're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars to live in a dump, to live amongst the rats?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Boston's great, but it's not that great. And that's what people are waking up to because they don't want to raise their family tripping over hypodermic needles.
Right.
So this is basic stuff. But when you're worried about climate policy as a mayor, and that's what your focus is on, you completely lose the plot.
I wouldn't say that's her focus.
Well, it's more of her focus of building a stadium for women's soccer where it's clearly a bad idea. Climate policy, just going after Trump. You're just not focusing on the basic things. And look, Josh Kraft.
75% of the people voted for her.
I want to know how many registered voters there are in Boston because
We could find that out.
all right, let's look that up. We'll wrap up with that. How many? Because
Well, how many eligible voters are there? Let's say what is the city, about 800,000 now?
Yeah, I mean it fluctuates with the students. All right. No, I'm not getting it. All right, let me. You know what? I'll ask Grok.
Ask AI.
I'm asking AI. Super Grok.
Oh, I don't know Super Grok.
How many did I spell that right? No.
They'll correct for you.
Registered voters are in Boston, Mass. This will get me a good answer, probably, hopefully.
I don't know Super Grok.
It's the Twitter one. All right, 422,000 registered voters
That's
as
a lot.
of February.
I'm surprised.
That's a lot. About less than 100,000 voted in the preliminary election.
Well, that I believe.
Yeah. So
In yesterday's?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that come through. It was like 90, 99, 98,000.
That's probably about average.
Yeah. So I mean, it's possible for him to pull this off. He'd have to, what was it, something like 65,000 people voted for her in the preliminary. All right, so you have to subtract that from the 422. It's going to be tough. We'll see if he gets there.
No.
I wish him the best of luck, and I'll still extend that invite for him to come on.
Good.
All right. We'll wrap up. Emily, thank you so much for coming on. I want to have you on again because these are great conversations.
Yeah. Anytime.
Even though we'll continue to hammer home the liberal bias in media as best I can, and maybe disagree on a whole bunch of other stuff. But this is quality. I hope the audience enjoyed it as well. So until next time, everybody, this is Back to Normal, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.